Welcome everybody this evening. My name is M.K. Guth and I am the director of the Hallie Ford School of Graduate Studies, and I oversee the Collaborative Design and Design System graduate programs. Before we get going, a couple housekeeping things. First of all, we'll be recording this evening's interactive workshop with Crystal. So if you're not comfortable, it's okay to turn off your video. I just want to put that out there. Recording will be happening. And then also, before we get going, I know we're in digital space right now. I know this is kind of not landed space, but in fact, PNCA is a physical place. And so I like to start out these with our guests' presentations with a land acknowledgement. So I want to acknowledge that the land that we're standing on when we are here at PNCA, and probably where most of you all are right now, is in the center of Multnomah County. And these are the ancestral homelands of the Multnomah, Klamath, Clackamas, Tumwater, Chinook, and many other indigenous nations of the Columbia River Basin. It is important to acknowledge the ancestors of this place, to recognize that we are here because of sacrifices that were forced upon them. We acknowledge the systematic policies of genocide, relocation, assimilation that still impact many indigenous Native American families today. And as settlers and guests on these lands, we respect the work that the Native nations, leaders, and families, and their ongoing efforts and make ongoing efforts to center indigenous knowledge, creativity, and the resilience and resistance. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their descendants, and their lives. We say these words because words matter. That's why we have these lectures. They matter, they're important. And they remind us of the conditions in which we reside and of the work that we still have to do. So now I'd like to welcome you all. I'm so excited to welcome you to tonight's interactive workshop with Crystal Chanel. Crystal is an award-winning marketing strategist who owns a company called Press Release Marketing. Crystal is a first-generation business owner, a homeowner, a college graduate, and was born in sunny Florida, and is now residing here in Oregon with all of us, or for those of us who are now in Oregon. Tonight, Crystal will share insight on branding and amplifying your voices, as well as strategies behind using your voice to create and increase positive community engagement. Crystal wouldn't allow me to brag a lot about her, but I just want to say how excited that we have her with us tonight, because she really does represent many amazing creative voices, musicians, music schools, artists, designers, small businesses, bigger businesses. And I think this is a great opportunity to think a lot about how we put our voices out in the world and as creatives, and how we can connect to other communities. So thank you all. And I'm going to hand this off to Crystal.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, MK. I just want to say that you're an absolute jewel for this community to have. And one of the things that I like about you the most is that you see possibility even in these times. And that's why we are here. I want to welcome each and every one of you guys this evening. Thank you so much for being here on a Wednesday. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And so I think that's really cool. And I want to focus on some of the things that we should get excited about in 2021. So if you're with me today on this interactive workshop, you probably should grab a piece of paper and a pen, keep it nearby. I have my paper and my pen, take a few notes. And I hope that tonight is life-changing for you, because I know it will be for me. I found that when I speak, I'm not just speaking to you all, I usually end up speaking to myself. So I want to get started with one of the most transformative moments in my life. Happened about 20 years ago, guys. I know I look 21. But this happened 20 years ago in South Florida. An African pastor by the name of Stephen Okuku was visiting my church in South Florida, where I was living at the time. And he came with what we would say was a life-changing message. And see, I want you to get a picture, get an understanding of where I was at that time when he came to my church. I was in college. I had moved out of my parents' house. I was just going to church just to appease my parents. I really wasn't there for any life-changing messages. I just came for the word, and I wanted to be able to leave when it was over. And not only that, just to dig a little deeper, I was living off of financial aid and scholarships. I was eating ramen noodles every single night. And I was kind of concerned about what would happen to my life after graduation. So that's where I was when this African pastor found me in South Florida. And he asked to speak to me. And he said something to me that I want to share with you guys. And if you want to take it as a prophecy over your life, you can do the same thing. And the reason why you can do that is because I think we're always taught, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But I have found that the teacher will appear regardless. It's up to you to take hold of whatever the teacher decided to tell you in that moment. And so when that teacher, AKA that pastor, AKA Pastor Stephen Okoku, told me, inner city girl, told me that my voice would be heard all around the world. He told me that people would listen to what I had to say. He said that leaders would come to me for advice. Now, at that moment, it didn't seem like it. But fast forward 20 years later, just as MK said, I am an award-winning marketing strategist. I do own a company called Press Release Marketing. I have been flown to Facebook not once, but twice, and dined with the COO, Sheryl Sandberg, and really had an opportunity to see my business going to the next level. But it was a 20-year span of when that seed was first planted. So today, I hope to plant a seed in you that it's so important that you market the urban voice in 2021. So this is what we call an interactive talk for creators, designers, and artpreneurs. So since we're interactive, I want you guys to tap in the chat for me. Who are you? Are you first year student? Are you a second year student? What are you studying exactly? Let me know. Let's get a chance to know each other. The other thing about this, as far as rules of engagement, is not only can you type in the chat, but I would love it if you would talk to me too. So when we think about interactive workshops, if you have something to say, you can definitely raise your hand and we can troubleshoot that thing together. So as deep as you guys want to go is as deep as I want to go. And I got to tell you, I absolutely love talking about this topic. 3 things we want to take away from today is how to, 1, discover our voice, 2, brand our voice, and 3, engage our community with that authentic voice. And so I think it's so important that you guys, while we're talking in real time, set some goals. Oh, I see you guys commenting. Thank you. Set some goals tonight. Set some goals tonight. I want you to think about what's next. And if you've never branded before, it's okay. I want you to talk to me or think about what should your branding accomplish in 2021. Even if you don't believe in branding, ask yourself, if I were to start branding, what do I want that to accomplish in 2021? When I moved to Portland about a year ago, I had to think about what did I want my company to accomplish on this side of the world? And I had to really write that down, and we're going to get into it. But you guys can imagine that obviously the goals that I wrote down, the things that I wanted my branding to accomplish, let's just say I'm probably getting close to that just by me sheer being here. And I want to make sure that you guys know how to do the same thing. Now, the first thing we have to do is do some definitions. Do some definitions. Somebody raise your hand. I would love to hear from you guys. But I need to, in order for us to talk about branding and the voice and all of that, we need to make sure we know what branding is. Any guesses out there of what is branding? It's one of those elusive terms. Anybody want to jump in, come off of mute, be a little brave for me? I'm looking.
I will. I will.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Hey, Jenna, tell me. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Branding is a term that people use in marketing all the time, but to me, it really means about the essence, the impression, the imprint that you leave behind after you exit a room. It's the thing people remember, connect with, and resonate with.
Ooh, I like that. It could be kind of hard to add to it, but I would love to hear some other voices. Is that Yu Yang? Did I say that right?
Oh yeah, you're completely right. So when I think about the branding, I think about it's a personality of a product, or it can be a personality of the person.
Absolutely. Because we can brand whether we're a business or just an influence. I shouldn't say that. Whether we are an influencer, we can brand whether we're a big business or a big influencer, or we can brand if we're the grandmother next door. You guys remember, I don't know if you guys do this in Portland, but do you guys remember back in the day where your grandma had like what we call like a little store in her kitchen and she would sell cookies and candy? Grandma was branded, right? After church, everybody knew where to go to get their cookies and snacks. We didn't go to a store. We went to grandma because her branding was on point. Anybody else want to add to branding? I am having so much fun with you guys already, and we just got started. Anybody else? Did I see a hand raise? I don't want to skip anybody. But keep in mind throughout this workshop that this is a safe space. This is the place where you want to kind of blurt out some stuff. And here's something that my writing coach, Jana, taught me, and she's in this class. We will never, ever parade shit on anybody. We won't rain on anybody's parade, but I do want to hear your answers because there's somebody sitting down right now who might have a misconception about branding. But if we kind of keep talking about it, we'll see that it's something that's vital that we all do. Anybody? Oh, Rebecca. You want to add to branding?
Yeah, I feel like it's like a visual representation of the company and like a word maybe or a slogan that describes the company. So I don't view it as maybe being as wholesome as other people do.
I kind of want to hear more of that. But you are spot on, Rebecca. I hope you continue to talk throughout this workshop because I do want to hear more of that. But it is spot on. Your brand is your company name. If you're an individual, it's your name. You guys see my name is branded Crystal Chanel. I wasn't that blessed. I mean, kinda. I just dropped my last name and that's my personal brand. So it's the name. And to add to what Rebecca says, it's the logo because there has to be a look, right? But then to take it a step further, going back into what Jana says and what Yu Yang says, there's a feeling and a personality that is embedded into this name and into this logo. Does that make sense? Y'all can shake your head. All right, good. So, okay, so we described branding. What about urban? Anybody want to take a stab at urban? What does urban mean? Hey, Lula, good to see you. Anybody want to take a stab at urban? It's a tricky one, right? Black people in the class, I'm going to call y'all out. Any Black people in the class want to take a stab at urban? It's a word that can kind of be tricky in the Black community. We don't always love it. Anybody? I see you, Never. Y'all afraid? I told y'all this is a safe space and I will push you. I see you smiling, Never.
Do you mean like inner city? Do you mean like downtown? Do you mean like, business commerce versus, rural, suburban?
I like that. I like that answer, Never. I saw you come off mute. Did you want to add something?
Oh, I feel like you're pressuring me into it. So that is a tough word. It really is, because I think within the African American and within the Black community, when you hear urban from our perspective, we think our cousins, our people, kind of like the city, in the city kind of thing. But then when other people say urban, sometimes it doesn't have that same context or that same connotation. And sometimes as an African American, you don't want to be seen as urban. I know a lot of times when it comes to me and my brand, I worry about being too urban or coming across a certain way. And so, you got my heart beating on this one. That's a tough word.
You know what? Thank you guys for that. Thank you, Never, for that, because that was tough. Describing urban is definitely tough. Even using the word urban in this title was an intentional decision, because sometimes, as Black and Browns, we don't want to be seen as urban and Black and brown. We just want to be seen as a person. But going to Rada, going to Rada, that is exactly what urban is. It's just meaning not the country. It just means the metropolitan. It just means the city. And for me, it's the culture and the heartbeat of the places where we are. So, you know, if you're off in the mountains, this might not be you, but urban is that young spirit of the town. So you always want to be making sure that your voice is kind of considered urban, whether you're Black, white, or Chinese. You want to be hip and you want to be cool. And so I wanted to kind of define that because I know sometimes it's an issue in our community specifically. So, and what about voice? Anybody want to give me a definition of voice? Because we are branding the urban voice in 2021. Rebecca, what's the voice?
I'm in a class taught by Lisa Congdon right now, and we just talked about voice today as being your core set of values that you return to time and time again, that help you navigate, the space between consumers and people who are like voting for you to succeed and those who aren't, and making like ethical decisions based off of how you feel in times of tension when you don't feel like your values are being met.
Textbook answer. Absolutely perfect. Kudos to your professor. Incredible, because that's what it is. And so think about it, guys. All I'm saying is put your voice out there. Anybody have an issue with that? Putting your own voice out there? And it's okay. Remember, it's a safe space. Anybody? Everybody's very comfortable?
It can feel really vulnerable and intimidating, I think, to put, especially if it's a personal voice as an artist rather than like speaking for a company or something that's a little bit more removed from yourself.
Absolutely, Megan. Anybody else have a little angst about putting their voice out there?
I think there's also something about like how like some voices overwhelming other voices. And so like a fear of either being hidden or hiding other people unintentionally, you know, like I'm speaking too loud in this space or I'm not being heard in this space. Both of those things kind of play into that like hesitation about coming out with whatever the things are.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that,
I
Samantha.
also want to as up to, you know, about being this like peer pressure or like anxiety. It's like sometimes you just feel like after you say something, I feel like you feel dumb, like I feel stupid saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of time to feel that.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. And guys, when I say thank you, I mean that because it takes a lot to go within and then say your own truth, right? And so that's a big deal. Whew. So the great news is tonight we're going to talk about how to discover your voice, how to brand, and how to engage your community with that. So let's get started. All right. So I got some tips for you guys. One of the things, and Rebecca said it so eloquently, it's the truth, your voice, it's everything. Everything starts there. When people come to me and they want to brand, they want to market, I'm interested in what's in your heart. I'm interested in what's your mission behind your company. I'm interested in the authenticity. Did I say that right? See, you Yang, I mess up words all the time, but because I've discovered my voice, it's okay. And it kind of matches my brand. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that you want to do is discover your own voice. Before you start finding a logo, before you start building a website, I want you to discover your own voice. And I'm going to give you 4 tips on how to get that done. First and foremost, get yourself a coach. Get yourself a coach. Now, here's what's cool about a coach. By profession, they are mandated to ensure that you are successful. By profession, they are the key to your success. I want you to think about everybody you know that you absolutely love. I promise you, they have a coach, whether they have a writing coach, a business coach, a spiritual coach. They have somebody in their corner that is cheering them on and dedicated to seeing them win. And somebody who's not like a yes person, but somebody who really wants to pour into you. Now, because we're college students, I have to tell you, if you need to barter to get a coach, do that. If you need to find your coach on YouTube, do that. But please, 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 by all means necessary, find yourself a coach. One of my coaches is on this line right now. She was the first person to speak, Jana Lopez. She's my writing coach. Guys, how can I be writing every day as a marketer without kind of making sure that somebody's checking in with me and that I'm going in the right direction? Shake your head. Does that make sense? Yeah, right. And that's the last thing we think of. We're like, I get a coach when I'm successful. I get a coach when I lose weight. I get a coach when my edges come back in. I get a coach when my skin clears up. But no, you got to get a coach right now from the beginning. Okay. I'll tell you what, though, when I got started in the beginning, 2013, I was laid off from my job and I knew I needed a coach because I was going to make the transition from secretary to CEO. My mom was my coach. She wasn't good at business, but I noticed that she had a serious influence in her church. I noticed that she was extremely confident in the things that she was saying. And I noticed that she knew how to coach with love. I made her my coach. So guys, get yourself a coach. Also, I want you to do this next. Once you find a coach or as you're looking for your coach, I want you to start defining your why. Why are you even doing whatever it is you're doing? Coaching with love. Man, these comments are so good. I want to read them, but I won't. I want you guys to think about your why. Think about why you're doing the things that you're doing. And here's the deal. If your why does not drive you to cry, bars, I know. If your why does not give you a sense of goosebumps on your arms, chills, a feeling of, gosh, man, if this happened, my life would be super, super incomplete, then you're not done. Keep digging deeper. Your why, think about it this way. Let me check in with Samantha. Samantha, what are you studying at PNC? Are you a student at PNC?
I sure am, and I'm in the collaborative design program.
Okay, and so what are you doing after you graduate? Are you first year or second year?
Second year.
Okay, so graduation is this summer?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next for you? Are you still figuring out or you have some ideas?
So, I mean, in an ideal, assuming there's like normal kind of job situations appearing, I want to be doing work that is at the intersection of science and design, but specifically geology, and helping people understand physical Earth better and relate to it and connect to it in kind of innovative different ways and through like educational channels.
Why?
Because it makes me happy to do that.
Mm-hmm. And why else?
Well, I think we need this in the world. I think that like there's sort of an invisible world that we're not engaging with, and I want to help shine a light on that invisible world.
Why?
Because we're not taking very good care of the Earth, and to take better care of it, I think we need to see it better and cultivate like love and affection for things that seem otherwise kind of inert.
Mm-hmm. I wonder why.
Why do they seem inert?
No, why do we need to care about the Earth?
Oh, because our lack of care, right, has led us into some like big trouble. We're in some big trouble. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that part of that trouble comes from not paying attention. And by not paying attention, we're not cultivating that sense of like love and stewardship that we need to not make the kinds of choices that have led us to be in need of repairing climate change and finding homes for climate refugees and all this stuff. So mm-hmm. it gets to that global scale pretty quick.
And what I want you to do, Samantha, when you get time, I want you to pinpoint all of those things that are happening to the Earth, that if we don't do something about it, we may not have an Earth to live on. I want you to get into that stuff and then keep asking yourself, why? Why does that matter? Why? And when you get to the point where you can barely answer because you're all choked up and you're crying and you're in tears, now you found a reason to do what you're supposed to be doing on this Earth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes when we're defining our why, we don't ask enough whys to ourselves. So as a part of our after class work, keep asking why until you cry. I want you guys to understand the reason why I am on this Zoom tonight is because I'm from the inner city. I grew up in a single family household. My mom was on assistance for a little while, and she's a single parent of 3 kids. And I understood that if I didn't do something different in my family, I would end up in the same exact space. And the other thing that I think is so interesting is that I come from a community of people in broken homes and poverty and all this stuff. And I needed to go out and make it so that I can come back and show them what's possible, right? Now, everybody won't have that sad rags to riches story, but your specific story, Samantha, is so important to making sure that this earth is a viable place to live. I need you to dig very, very deep and be able to find your why and be able to say it in a consistent manner, because we need whatever you're going to bring to society to make sure earth is safe. Make sense? Got it. Okay. So let's define our why, right? And so as we keep asking ourselves why, and why, we kind of get to the final why. And this is the reason we do that. I kind of want to know if you guys know, why do we need to find our why? Rebecca kind of touched on it. Anybody want to chime in on why we need to really make sure that our why is strong and that we're connected to it? Anybody? Yes, Julia. Hey.
In order to get others to care about what we're passionate about as well.
I like that answer. I like that a lot. Anybody else?
Yeah, it's easy to think that everyone's going to think the same way as you because it makes so much sense in your mind and you've spent so much time thinking about it, but that's not often the case. You know, you can be talking to a completely blank slate, and if you have a consistent why, then they're going to get it a lot quicker than if you are changing around.
For sure. And the things that we do as artists sometimes is a little abstract. So if we don't know our voice, if we can't clearly define what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it, then the person that's listening, they can't define it either. And as Brendy said, they can't even refer us to somebody else. Anybody else have another reason?
I do.
Yes,
I think more than the communication of it, it's also just can act as a personal engine for motivation. You sometimes lose your motivation. It just helps defining why just helps get back to doing stuff. Yeah.
Period, guys. Let me tell you something. When you walk out in the world and you say, hey, I'm Sky the artist, and I have my master's degree from PNCA, and my coach is all of that, you may run into Yuzang who says, been there, done that. That's not all that. You will be tested by your own community, guys. You will be challenged. You will be questioned. You understand me? You know, if you start from the bottom, if you are the underdog in any way capacity, any way, shape or form, if you are not a white male, I'm looking, I see a couple, but you're going to have some issues. You're going to be tested. You're going to be tried and you're going to be challenged. But if you know what your why is, you can stand in the paint and nobody can ever take that away from you. If a pandemic comes and lays you off from your job or changes how things are happening in the world, you can still stand firm and say who you are because you discovered your voice, you did the work. And this is kind of like what it looks like when you've done the work. A lot of times people will skip the process and that's not going to be helpful. All right, so we've already defined our why and we know why. We need to now set some goals. So, hey, I'm the big shot artist, I'm a painter, I'm a marketer, I'm a chef. What are my goals? And in this case, I want you to set some SMART goals, right? So SMART goals have 5 characteristics. They are specific, they are measurable, they are achievable, they are realistic, and they're timely. Yes, never say, I know that. So guys, we may not be doing New Year's resolutions anymore, but why don't we consider making monthly goals, weekly goals, quarterly goals? Hold yourself accountable to some very specific goals. If your goal is, I'm gonna make 6 figures in business, when? How long will it take you to get there? What are you gonna do to get there? How often are you gonna check in with yourself? Tell your coach what your goals are so they too can hold you accountable, but make some goals. And so let's recap, right? Before I go into the last one. So we're discovering our voice, right? And in order to do that, we want to make sure we have a coach. We want to make sure that we define our why. We want to set some SMART goals. And then the last thing, can anybody guess? Once you got your goals, you got your why, you know who you are. What's the last thing you think you might have to do once you discover your voice?
Make it happen.
I like that, Rebecca. Make it happen. How would you make it happen? Any ideas?
It looks like Doug, do you have your hand up? Doug Wiltshire.
I need to scoot over.
I did, but that was for the last one, so.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
But Doug, we like hearing your voice. So if you still want to add, you can.
Well, you know, I think once you set your goals, hopefully you're passionate enough that you're motivated and you begin.
Begin what?
Begin the process of branding yourself, of identifying who you are, of pushing forward, being successful. My grandfather always told me the key to success is persistence. So part of that persistence comes from what you were talking about, motivation, the why. And that really resonates with me.
I like that. I like that. Okay, so we got our voice, we set our goals, and as Rebecca and Doug both said, it's time to get busy. What I like to say is have an event, guys. Have an event so you can share your voice with someone, so you can hear how you sound, so you can interact. And an event can be anything. I don't want you to be afraid. An event could be, take that, some of you guys are a little bit younger than me, but if anybody remembers Tupperware parties from back in like the 80s, and then Amy's like, yeah. Okay, remember you got super excited, you got all of your inventory, and the next thing you did was you went to somebody's house and had a party. So you could tell them all about the Tupperware, right? That the Tupperware was your voice at that time. So how much more so should we do the things that God gave us, like our innate gifts and talents given to us by God? Go out there and have an event with it. Go out there and test yourself. Test what you said you're about. See if you're still about that. See if you still like it. And we'll get into some ideas of some events, because an event doesn't have to be a soiree. This is an event right here. If I say I'm all about helping my community, I need to get into a space where I can see all of my community and pour in. Right? And then you guys could tell me if I really helped my community or if I was just doing it for show. We've all ran across those people who say they're this, that, this, and that, but it was just a show. So what you want to do to bring out your authentic voice is have an event. All right. So we discovered our voice, guys. It's time to talk about the stuff that you probably want, which is branding. So now that we've discovered our voice and we want to put it into an event, would you be surprised if I told you that your company name is an event? Think about it. When you get that new company name, how many people do you run around and tell? Do you put it on social media and have a virtual launch of your name? Do you go to a family member's house and be like, girl, guess what? I just named my company Press Release Marketing. I'm so excited. Just having a company name is an event and it's part of your brand. Another part of your brand, guys, is a bio. I recommend you do it before your logo. I recommend that you write your bio, go online, Google it. Of course, you can always hire professional companies, but if you're just starting out, get connected with who you are and what you represent. Write yourself a nice little bio. Let somebody read it. Let me read it. I love it. I'd love to read your bios. The other thing then you want to do, of course, is have a logo. Can I see raise of hands who has a logo? Okay, and the others who don't, anybody want to chime in? Thank you, Catherine, I see it. Anybody want to chime in as to why they may not have a logo, just to give me an understanding and so I could connect with your thought processes? MK?
MK, I think sometimes artists don't, like artists, painters, visual artists don't always think about it in terms of a logo. They think about their company name kind of as in terms of their name.
Anybody else agree with that? Anybody else feel that way a little bit?
Yes, also because we are lazy and technophobes.
And what was the last term?
A technophobe.
I like that answer. That's a lot of truth in that. Anybody? Yes, you Zane.
I also think sometimes some artists feel like because we are artists, we need to appear very, formal, a little high off ground. So maybe a logo or maybe some casual wording are not fitting into this perceived brand.
So branding, logo is a big part of branding, name and logo. On the simplest terms, that's all it really takes is your name and your logo. The cool thing, guys, you don't have to have a really crazy logo. It could be a signature, it could be your name, but it's an image. I want to show you something here. I carry around 2 wallets in my purse because I'm a woman, that's what we do. I carry around 2 wallets in my purse. This is my favorite one. If I'm out and about, I pull out this one, right? And I don't know if you guys can see that closely. There's a name on there. In this case, that's the logo. And it's recognizable, right? Anybody not recognize that brand? Nobody recognizes Victoria's Secrets? A little blurry, I get it. But it's Victoria's Secret, right? And if you were in person and you were about this kind of, if this was the thing you were into, you would recognize, ooh, I like this, I like this. So this artist, right, decided to design a wallet and they put their name on it, their logo, their stamp, so I know who they are. And here's the other one I carry around. This artist, nicely woven, it's cool, and it holds my business cards, but we don't know who did this. We just don't know. Artists, you work too hard to not sign your work, to not put your stuff out there with a brand. I want to just show you one more example because we're all wearing masks, right? And once again, this mask, beautiful, representing our country. I love wearing it. Patriarch. There's no name on this mask, inside and out. This mask, still plain, but there's a brand right there. And as you guys can see, I'm a Victoria's Secret girl, so this is still Victoria's Secret. And if you're into this kind of stuff, you would recognize this brand because they built it. And it says pink. It's not even, doesn't say Victoria's Secret. That's the brand. Guys, that signature, you do this work, put your name on it. If multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar, publicly traded, trillion-dollar companies are putting their name on it, how much more so should you? Think about it. Give it some thought. Give it some thought. But either way, I want you to do that. And then, of course, some other things that we can do for branding is a website, building a website, putting your stuff out there online, making sure it all matches, making sure all the colors are the same. The other thing we can do is social media. We can use social media to put our voice out there. I want you to know that using social media to put your voice out there is valuable because, have you guys looked up the numbers of how many users are on social media? If you have something to put out in the world and you're on Facebook and 2.7 billion users are on there every single month, guys, take the chance and put it out there. It's better than playing the lottery. The reason why I was flown to Facebook, not once, but twice, is because I was advertising on social media. That's how they found me. The reason why I live in Oregon is because my partner is a chef for an NBA player. They found her on social media. They found her dish on social media. Guys, on IG, we got 1 billion users. On Twitter, we got 330 million active users every single month. Whatever you want to put out there in the world, those users, people who want what you have, they're on there. They're on there. Pinterest, 322 million users. Guys, that means that if you put an ad or a piece of art or a collaborative project on social media, on Facebook, millions upon billions of people will see it. That's probably more people, on that platform than watching HGTV, right? Think about it. Think about it. Clubhouse, anybody on Clubhouse right now? No Clubhouse people. Lula's on Clubhouse. Neva's on Clubhouse. There's 2 million people on Clubhouse, guys, giving away information. And those are niche rooms. So here's the cool thing. If you were born into this generation of social media, yay! Thank you, Rebecca. If you were born into this generation, if you grew up with social media, you might take it for granted just a little bit. But I want to kind of give you a glimpse of how we used to do business before social media. Literally, when I started my first business, I had brochures and I had to go door to door to door and knock on doors. Let me tell you, my heart was beating fast. I thought for sure somebody would look at me and I would melt. Imagine how much easier it is to just hit post. I literally went door to door in South Florida. I'm sweating under my arms by the time I get to the fourth door. I'm not sure if they like me. Maybe they want the brochure. Maybe they don't want me. Guys, social media is really an opportunity for you to get yourself out there and kind of just do your thing without having as much angst as we used to do back in the day. You have an opportunity to have two-way communication on social media. We used to send out what they call direct mailers or postcards in the mail. We still do that. It's still effective. But it used to be a time that was our only option. And when you send that out, let's say Megan had some feedback on this direct mailer I mailed to her house. How could she get in touch with me? You know, and social media, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way communication. When somebody puts something out there, they may comment on you. And that's a good thing. It's called engagement. You want that. So sometimes when we skip social media, we skip the chance to be engaging with our community. We skip the chance to be seen. We take it for granted, and that's probably not a good thing. The other thing, of course, is e-blast. You can send out an email. How many of you got the email to be here tonight? All right. So then it still works. So e-blast still works. So let's say you just, look, Crystal, I'm not going to do social media. I don't care how many users are on there. Send an email. Send an email and tell people what you're doing. Remember, we set some goals already. You got some things you're trying to do. So I want you to go ahead and consider e-blast. What about blogs? Me and Neva was talking about that today. Blogs. It's a great way to put your information in the space. Let me tell you something, guys. When I first got started in business, I had one client. And there always comes a point in the contract where you realize it's about to end. And so I was thinking I would have a few more clients before this would happen, but I found myself in a situation where that was not the case. But I had been blogging that whole year, blogging, saying what I do, saying what I offer. And so when the contract ended, I got a contract working with a gentleman who does things for the airport, just to keep it simple. Airport, big money. Does things for the airport. And he needed somebody to do some stuff like what I do. And I ended up getting a $40,000 contract just from blogging. And so Neva, we were talking earlier about blogging, and she's waiting on her website so that she could get her blog up. Neva, what I did was I partnered with an online Black-owned newspaper and volunteered to write for them. That's where my blog sat, and that blog got me $40,000. Finished the year as if I had never lost a contract. I want the same, if not more, for you guys. So these free mediums of blogging and social media, use it, but use it after you figured out your voice and it's right in that space. If you need any help from me, I'm here. You can always reach out. Want to start having a little fun? Do some videos, do a photo shoot. You know, you can really turn it all the way up when you know your voice, when you discovered your why, when you have a coach. You can have a lot of fun in these spaces. So after today, I want you to start looking at some of your favorite brands, and I want you to watch how cohesive they are. And then you should look at brands that are in your industry, right? So maybe not necessarily look at a marketer's brand, because we're going to be loud and crazy and out there, but you might want to look at another artist, somebody who has your same vibe, and it's not intended to copy, but just to kind of see how are they doing their branding. If you've discovered your voice already, trust me, you won't make that mistake. But that's branding, and that's all I have for branding. And we're going to go into an engagement piece. Any questions about branding? Yes, Rebecca?
Something that I get tripped up on a lot with logo and name is just trend. I get scared that I'm not going to hit the trend that's alive right now, that people aren't going to be interested in it because it's maybe too outdated or just too funky or not cool enough. So do you have any feedback on like how to approach that fear?
I do, and that's why I start with the discovering your voice piece. If you're kind of old school, if you're kind of funky, I see you kind of, to me, got a skateboard kind of vibe, you know, just edgy, put that into your brand. Be authentic. Don't go professional. Don't go super polished, because that's not you and nobody wants a gimmick. We want the authentic you. So it can be just as free as you are. One of the things that I did to help me is I started asking friends to describe me in 3 words, because you see yourself one way, but your family and friends see you something different. And they told me that I was confident and that I was bossy and that I was dominant. I thought I was shy and meek and sweet. I had to make, that's not, see, and I didn't know. So, but I had to make that a part of my brand. I had to embrace who I really am. So, there's how we see each other. How we see ourselves and how we really are. So I would take the time to ask your friends, ask your family, people who you trust. And once you see the trend in that list, then create your name and your logo based on that, because you will always be true to that person right there, because it's really you. Somebody else was raising their hand. Yes, Julia.
What are, in your experience, what are some of the best ways to boost engagement? Because at least on Instagram, it seems like they are constantly changing the determining factors for what type of engagement will boost you to some people's discovery feeds. And it's really, it changes all the time. So what have you seen that really works to boost engagement?
So I'm the kind of person, I don't pay attention to algorithms and trends. Again, when you discover your voice, you won't, right? Because you don't have time for that. That's going to be like a math thing. Let those math guys figure it out. But here's what I will recommend. When I landed in Portland, I cleared out my social media, my business page, to kind of reduce my numbers. I unfollowed anything that didn't kind of line up with who I am, who I am and what I want to see on my business page, so that I can see other people, so that I can authentically connect. So instead of having thousands of people that I'm following just to get my numbers up, it may be lower numbers, but when if you come in my feed, Julia, I'm going to notice you. So I trick the algorithm on my end. So what happens is you feel connected to me, right? Because I'm talking back to you, and it's authentic and it's real and it's not rushed and it's a clear answer, right? So now engagement is increasing because you're talking back to me. You're tagging other people on my page. You're saying, she's so cool. Look at her. She talks back. She's so awesome. I know her personally. You got to be able to do the same thing. And in order for you to do that, you got to feel really, really comfortable with who you are. You got to be okay to have 500 likes or 500 followers or in your IG and be unbothered. It will grow. If you build it, they will grow. If you build it authentically, it will pay you back forever.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions about branding? Because then we're going to go into engagement. Yes, Neva.
Okay, I don't know if this is really a question, but more of like kind of a statement. So when I think of branding, I start to get worried because I start to worry about everything being cohesive. And I start to worry about what if I put a font over here that doesn't match the font over, and like little stuff like that. And maybe I'm thinking too far into it or whatever the case may be, but I start to get overwhelmed with just the idea of making sure that everything looks like me. Everything looks like Neva. Like when you see it, like, I don't know, when you see something that like Oprah put out, Oprah put it out. When you see something that's like Martha Stewart, it's Martha Stewart. Rachel Ray, all of her stuff looks the same. It's all branded very nicely. And so I just get very worried that like my things aren't cohesive and that maybe it's looking like too homemade-ish and it's not flowing well. Thank you for understanding me, Rebecca. She's like, yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like it doesn't all flow well. And so sometimes I think that kind of draws me back from wanting to brand myself fully.
Sure. Ooh, I love when you guys open up and tell me the real so I could tell you the real. Listen, guys, just go for it. Nobody expects your branding to look like Oprah, like honestly. And believe it or not, your community wants to grow with you. They want to remember when you had rinky-dink flyers. They want to remember when your logo was drawn by your little daughter who's at home, and they want to remember those times. They want to go with you to the top. They don't want to see you just be on top. They want to remember when you were saying, I hope I get to speak at a school one day. And then they want to see the post of you speaking at a school. I want you to be able to take your audience on a journey with you, on a journey to greatness. And greatness doesn't start at the top. So It sucks, but just put it out there and then look at it and see how you feel. The thing that aggravates me the most probably is sometimes my clients are like, "Ooh, I don't like that. That color's off. I don't like that. That font is off." I'm like, if you don't put this President's Day sale flyer out so that you can get some sales, so that you can achieve your goals that we set out in the beginning of this year, I know you are not going to let the color blue stop you. So put it out there. Remember, we always want to procrastinate. You know what I'm saying? When it's time to do something big, all of a sudden you want to clean the house. You know what I mean? So we always want to procrastinate. So guys, I would say don't let yourself hold you back or put you on pause. Just go for it. Just go for it. Any other questions about branding? These are good. Okay, Katie.
I have a question. Okay, so if you're sort of in the process of finding your voice, but you may be kind of trying to switch your career goals up, is that a place that you would really stop and find your voice before you like plow through? Because I already have some, obviously like social media and stuff, but I'm kind of in like a redesign of myself, if you will. So should I take a pause?
No, this is an amazing question, guys. You ever heard of a guy called, I think he's called Diddy right now? Anybody remember when he was Puff Daddy? So obviously he was changing who he was, right? He was going from artist to producer. He probably was going from Sony employee to the guy who owns his own thing, right? So you're always going to be pivoting, Katie. You're always going to be changing. You're always going to be growing. So when you're doing your voice, try to find an umbrella that will allow you to be yourself completely as you grow. And that's a little challenging, but the great news is leaders always find a way to pivot. Diddy, for example, Lil Bow Wow, for example, we always find a way to kind of change, and you'll still be authentically you. If you start with the voice, you'll still be authentically you. When I first started, my company was called Power Never Underrated. That's a long name. I should never have had that company name. And then the logo was like the shape of a body. It was just so crazy. And this was the marketing company that I was starting, Power Never Underrated. It was so crazy. And so when I realized, this is not a good name, right? I had to make some pivots and some changes, but I was still the kind of girl that wanted to provide marketing to small business owners in my community. I was still the kind of girl that wanted to show business owners that they could have a marketing department and that they didn't have to do all of their marketing themselves. So my voice, even though I had to change my company name, the essence of who I am and who I, wanted to portray did not change. So that's what you want to make sure you kind of find. And we can fine tune that together. I think Megan's going to put up my information at some point so we can all stay connected. Any other questions? This is good, y'all. Yes, Betsy.
What's the role in as I'm thinking about, being on social media or whatever, I'm like, maybe my audience isn't on there, or what's the role in knowing your audience first before you kind of make choices about your brand and where you show up?
And what do you do, Betsy?
I'm a graphic designer, but I'm trying to move into systems design, thinking about social systems and how, to make them, how to design them better.
Okay, so, first let's clear up any misconceptions. Let me go back to my notes here. I should put on my glasses just for effect. If I had glasses on, I would be like 2.7 billion users monthly on Facebook. Your people are there. Yeah. Your people are there. You just got to learn how to speak to them, right? And so what are you doing on social media? You're a graphic artist. Everybody, raise your hand if you look for a graphic artist this year yet. We're only in January. And a good quarter of the class is looking for a graphic artist. So everybody wants what you're doing. That's a hot thing right now. So what are you posting?
Not anything right now because I'm focused on school.
Why is that? Why can't you focus on two at once?
Well, to be honest, social media, I get really wrapped up in it. I get personally kind of caught up. It's hard for me to keep my, I don't know, just my perspective and my focus, my kind of inner balance. I get there's just a lot of distractions there. There's a lot of one-upping, and it's a hard place for me to be, to be honest.
I can understand that. I would definitely say explore other things like website, e-blast. You know, you don't have to necessarily be on social media, but I do kind of strongly advise you in particular because of the kind of work you do. I would say, why don't you consider, first of all, if you're on Facebook, do a Facebook business suite. That way you can only see the business stuff, because it does get kind of distracting. I'm one that I work on social media, so I don't have a lot of fun on social media. I want to get on and off. So you might want to tell yourself it's okay to get on and off, or even set a timer for yourself to get on and off. But the other thing is, you should be putting graphics in that space. You should be keeping your skill set fresh. Even if somebody's not hiring you, you should be showcasing your work. My partner, when I first met her, personal chef, she didn't have a gig at the time, and she was looking to just kind of put herself out there. And she started delivering meals to me every single day. I wasn't paying for them, but all she asked for in return, and she had a list, you're gonna have to post it, you have to say something positive, it needs to happen in this type of time frame. She had some criteria for me. And so every day I was posting this chef's food. I want you to think about how your community can help you. So that brings us into the engagement piece. So let me move quickly. Did you guys enjoy the branding component? Did you learn a lot? Okay, good. Let's move quickly into engagement, because for me, this is the most important part. So once we have discovered our voice, once we know how to brand and we're out there finding our branding tools, guys, you're gonna have to engage your community. And this is the part that is so important, because when you get to where you wanna go in life, you wanna look back and you wanna see your whole community standing behind you, cheering you on. So what does that mean? That means when you start networking, guys, I know we're taught to network up, but we need to be networking across. We need to be looking at who's in this room, who has certain talents that I can use. Even if I can't use it, who's talented that I can tell somebody else about their talent. So let's say, speaking about engagement, is putting your personal brand out there. And we talked about social media, but guys, just going in the community. And it's a little hard because of COVID. So that's why we keep bringing up social media, because you can engage digitally too. You want to get a little creative, but you can still engage your community. But I want you to kind of keep this in mind. When you are engaging your community, I want you to treat people the same, whether they're at the top or the bottom. So if you walk into PNCA and you have been hired to speak, when you walk in, make sure you speak to the janitor, make sure you speak to MK, make sure that everybody feels your brand, because you know who you are. You know you're not better than anybody. You know that what you have inside of you is meant to be shared with the world. So when you walk in, you should be sharing with everybody. And I think that's a colossal mistake that we make in Black and Brown communities specifically. Sometimes we make that mistake in female communities, a little catty. But guys, that is the one thing that's going to guarantee your success. I'm telling you, some of the most incredible things I've been able to do came by referral from somebody in my community. So connect. And when you connect, I want you to be authentic. So when you're putting things out in the space, Betsy, you can put your graphic out and say, I'm just laying this here so you can see my greatness. I'll be back tomorrow with more. You can make that a part of your personal brand. You can be edgy like that. You can be snappy like that. It wasn't rude, but you let people know I'm not really here for the games, and people will take that as a part of your personal brand. The other thing that you want to do when you're engaging with your community is do some collabs. You guys gotta be working with each other, like work together. Anybody collaborating right now with anybody on the Zoom? Just curious. Ooh, that's bad. Okay,
Julie and I are hopefully going to do it. We've talked about it.
Yeah, we haven't started yet, but we have plans, and that's what's important, right?
We work together.
That is what's important. Don't forget to set your SMART goals so that you guys actually make it happen. But you guys are going to be pillars for this community. Look around on the Zoom, not enough collaboration happening. So you got to do it, and you got to go hard. I have a recommended reading list for you guys. I wrote there's a few books on there. I think Megan's going to drop it, but I wrote an article called, let's see, what was it called? It was called something like when you go in, leave the door wide open. I wrote it a few years ago. You guys should read it. But basically it means when you get an opportunity and it's great, kick the door open so your next sister or brother can walk right in and shine as well. And the way you do that is by operating in excellence. So Julia and Rebecca, when you do your thing, you show out. And if you need, help or assistance, get your coaches on the line. Let me be a coach. Anybody, get MK on the line. Make sure that when people see this girl power, they're like, oh, snap. Right? And make sure it's clean. You got a brand, Julia has a brand. So collaboration and collective learning comes from it. And that's a big thing. The things that you need in order to get to the next level is probably sitting right with your neighbor. And oftentimes we just take each other for granted. In order for you to excel in this space, you're gonna have to work with each other. Okay, and then the great thing about working with each other is that's how you build confidence. And you need that. And so some of the questions that you guys are asking, if you listen to yourself back, you're like, I probably wasn't that confident is just the root of that. Imagine what happens when you collaborate and it's successful. Nobody won't be able to tell you nothing. And that's so super important. And you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching these collaborations, who's looking at this unity, who wants to harbor that type of energy for themselves. So you never know. Listen, I didn't know the COO of Facebook was watching my Facebook. I didn't know. Oh, we got the list here, guys. There's some links. So I guess copy the links. And then I also put my ebook, Discovering Your Voice. So if I went a little bit too fast, take that link as well. It expires in 7 days, but once you download it, it's yours. So take that link, because I firmly believe we can hire people to do our logos, our websites, our blogs, but until we find ourselves and discover our voice, we're going to always have issues, because you're going to always be challenged and tested. Anyway, there's the reading list, guys. Okay, so I need to be closing out soon, but before we close out, I was wondering if any brave soul would love to come to the front of the class virtually and give me like their 30-second elevator pitch. Like, who are you? What do you do? Anybody? And the good thing about these things, these pitches, when you do them, yeah, we deep dive in real time. And yeah, it's, it's a little invasive, but trust me, when you get it, you got it. You guys heard mine, award-winning marketing strategist. That's my intro, but that's okay. We can work on yours if you let me hear it. Anybody?
I'll try.
Oh, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh. I'm a storyteller working collaboratively with my 8-year-old daughter on a story of immigration. About
immigration, you said?
Do you hear me?
No, yeah, say it one more time, Jeffrey.
We
can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, do it one more time.
I couldn't hear you. I'm a storyteller who's working collaboratively with my 8-year-old daughter on a story about immigration and separation.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And just because I'm nosy, when you say working on a story, is that a book? Is that a blog? Is that pictures? What is that?
It's an illustrated book where I'm illustrating and my daughter's writing.
Awesome. And how long have you been writing?
We started last year, last January.
And what made you do this with your daughter?
My daughter and I, we returned to America in, I think, April 2019, and her mom was stuck in Japan. So I saw this story that I thought I should tell.
Amazing. I like that. Okay. Can I hear somebody else? I like that, Jeffrey. Yes, Yuzang.
So I'm a visual artist who is primarily doing photography and collages that deals with this double positioning as a Chinese living in the US and chasing for a better life. And outside of the arts, I'm just an internet clown. That's it.
Outside of the arts, you're just what?
An internet clown.
Clone?
Clown that the circle when you go to the
Oh,
Clown.
internet clown. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
clown.
What does that mean? That you just be playing around?
Well, I mean, that means that that means my internet personality is very chaotic and very funny, and you know, just oftentimes I think I'm confident, but actually I end up doing things that other people think I'm a clown. Like, yeah. It's a very subtle and a better way to say you are just very social and anxious and just not that confident.
I want you to, I definitely want you to work on that, because I hear an incredible visual artist who takes pictures and loves to have fun on the internet. Yeah. So think about the words and how you make people feel. And so clown, not you. But a guy that's fun, a guy that has a smile that is kind of contagious, I would kind of play on that a little bit, because everybody wants a photographer or a visual artist that is fun and engaging. So I would play with that a little bit just to make sure that you're sending out the right message. Neva, I saw you raise your hand.
Hey guys, my name is Neva LaRue of Neva Finds Food. I am a food influencer and I am a former high school culinary teacher. I basically want to be known for bringing you the best recipes, restaurants, and reviews.
I like that. And so the end is what got me. So I would kind of stick with that part of it if I were you. Hey guys, I'm a food influencer. I travel all over eating food, and then end with that thing that you ended with. I don't think I even need to know that you were once a professor.
Okay, thank you.
That'll come out later. Anybody else? Okay, so I need one more brave volunteer. I feel like I want you, there you go, Rebecca. I was like, I hope they would just volunteer. So now, here's what I want you to do, Rebecca. And we're gonna be ending soon. I know, I'm watching this, we're gonna be ending soon. But I think you could do this. Rebecca, walk with me, pretend with me for a second. I just walked into this incredible room and met some really, really cool people in passing. And now let's say you are the host for the evening. This is your room. You're hosting this room. I would like for you to recap some of the cool people that introduced themselves, because I showed up late. So I want you to recap Jeffrey, Yu Yang, and Neva for me. Who are they? And then end with who are you?
Okay. So I think Jeffrey has maybe struck an emotional chord with me the deepest. So I will reference his first. Jeffrey is an illustrator who's working on a graphic novel about his Japanese American daughter and her experience being without her mother, who was stuck in Japan for a year. Neva is a former culinary teacher from a high school who's interested in what it seems to me as creating maybe like a platform where people can get recipes, find reviews from restaurants, and just get inspiration about food. And then Yuzen is a photographer who also spends a lot of time being funny, perhaps, on the internet, and mentioned some sort of like hiding himself behind the screen because he's socially awkward. And I'm Becca Stone, and I have chronic pain, and I want to make objects for people who suffer from chronic pain, but also for women specifically, I guess, when they get cramps.
I love it. Okay, guys, we are running out of time, so I'm going to try to wrap this up really quickly and bring it all together. I want you to know what Rebecca just did is how you build your community. And we got to see more of that. I need to hear you guys say great things about each other. That's how you build community. That's how you get promoted. That's how you build your confidence. That's how you know if your brand is sticking, because they're going to give you feedback. So I'm going to close by doing what Rebecca just did. And I want you to pay attention. And I know Neva, I know you felt it. You Yang, I know you felt it as well. What you say matters, because the way she repeated it, perhaps you do this, probably trying to do that. We got to get to definite so that when people talk about us in the community, it's like never. Okay, so I'll show you. So first of all, Alicia, you just came in late. I just want you to meet my good friend, Jeffrey. Jeffrey is absolutely incredible. He's writing a book with his daughter on immigration and separation. It's so cool because his mother went through a few different things in that process, and they're going to document this whole thing in a book. It'll be coming out this summer. You can't miss it. And also, I know I'm talking a lot, but I don't want you to miss Neva. Neva is all the rave here in Portland. She's going to every single restaurant and doing reviews on their food, engaging with the CEOs, and really providing a safe place for the restaurant industry post-COVID. Now, Alicia, I know you're tired of meeting people, but I really need you to meet Zhang as well, because he is like one of the best photographers I've ever met. He uses photography to tell stories. He tells so many stories that he ends up having a blast on social media just to kind of disconnect. He's super duper busy. So if you're looking for a great photographer, you probably want to email him early or in advance. Does that make sense, Alicia? Now, Rebecca, I think I lost her visual. Oh, there she is. Rebecca's really cool because she's been suffering with some chronic pain. And because of that, she's created state-of-the-art products that help alleviate pain in real time, specifically for women. And what I really like about her is she has a heart for helping people because she's been through a few things herself. So, hey, meet my friends, Alicia. Did you guys see how that felt? Doesn't that feel good? That is community building. Yes. And we got to do more of that. If we don't do it for each other, right? Who's going to do it? Yes, Neva.
I'm sorry. Can I record that so I can just carry that with me everywhere I go? So when someone asks who I am, I'm gonna be like, well, let me just have Crystal Chanel tell you. Is that, no? Okay. Sorry.
I love it. And listen, that's marketing too. If on your voicemail, you have me on your voicemail saying, hello, you've reached so-and-so, that's marketing. And it doesn't even have to be me. What if you're friends with an influencer and they could be doing your voicemail? That is marketing, and that is engaging your community, bringing everybody into this collaborative thing that you're doing. Guys, I had so much fun with you tonight. It's 7:13, so I got to get ready to end. For those of you who may not remember, my name is Crystal Chanel. I own a company called Press Release Marketing. I love collaborating with my community and with leaders. I love talking about marketing and branding. Please follow me on social media, Press Release LLC. I want to stay connected. And tonight has been a blast.
Everybody unmute and let's do a hearty applause.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, have a great
Crystal.
night. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you again, Crystal. We so appreciate your presence and being here and working with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for your energy. Appreciate it.
Yay. Thank you. I'm so happy you came, Neva. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you guys for allowing me into your space. This was amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks.
We did it.